And this is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, coming to you from the podcast layer, home of the Parabolic Poets and Delusions podcasts. So there's a family here. I love the family atmosphere. I'm thrilled to be here sitting in sunny California. Luckily, we're inside with AC. I am joined by a fellow patriot, a man who has a plan, kind of a different approach on how to deal with the fact that, because California is a top two advance, regardless of party, there is no true Republican primary. Maybe we need to think about things a little differently. And George has a plan. Welcome, George Yang.
Good afternoon, sir. It's really cozy in here. I like the setup, really do. Yes. So in California, unlike many other states, we have what people call a jungle primary. So the top two goes on to the general election, regardless of party denomination and whatnot. So there are many situations where there are two Democrats or two Republicans in running for state Senate, state assembly, and even Congress at some times. It's quite often, let's say in a blue district, there will be two Democrats. Sometimes in a red district, there will be two Republicans. However, there are exceptions to that. I believe it's 4 years ago in a Republican-leaning district, Senate District 4, which also covers part of Fresno, 6 Republican candidates split the vote so badly that 2 Democrats become the top 2 candidate. And in the general election, there is no write-in. So once that happened, all the Republicans in that election, unfortunately, are locked out. Now, thankfully, we happen to have a good Democrat who later on become a Republican, but that's a different story. Now, going back on the statewide side, in 2014, we have 2 Republicans almost become the top 2 candidate for the general election at the state church controllers race. One of them is the former mayor of Fresno, and the other one is a CPA out of Bakersfield, I believe.
So Ashley Swearingen, and I can't remember the
David
other.
Evans.
David
the
Evans.
Reason that you do not remember that is he only spent $25, not $2,500, $25 other than his filing fee to run for that office.
Wow.
And he get to 20. Let me get my numbers straight on that one. I am a numbers guy, but he got 21%. Now, if he get to 21.7%, then the 2 Democrats in that race would not have a chance in the general election. So it is possible. Now, in that election, Ashley Swearingen lost to a Democratic candidate in the general election. There's really not a whole lot we can do about that. It is a D+10 stage statewide. Now, we do have a chance in the primary to top 2 this. Now, I do the numbers. I will share this with Eric so that you can have all the numbers. Now, in 2024, when Trump is running for president, he got 6 million votes in California. In Brian Dahle, 2 years before that, 2022, he got 4.6 million votes, even though he's...
I thought he was the worst possible candidate, and he still got quite a number of votes.
He is pretty boring. He's a good guy. His big issue is to fix the power grid, which, by the way, we do need fixing.
Yes.
But it's not a very exciting idea.
But he never came to the Central Valley. He didn't step foot in the Central Valley. He didn't really try.
Unfortunately, I believe his campaign team have more or less given up once he passed the primary. That's unfortunate truth to that. Now, here we have an opportunity. If we can get 4 million Republicans to run, to vote.
We don't want 4 million
we don't want them to run. I'm sorry about that. We can get 4 million Republicans or Republican-leaning voters to vote in the primary of June of next year. Then we can top 2 this. The reason being that Gavin Newsom is term out. He's out. He's no longer in the picture. And we have 7 major Democrats who are running.
Is it now? Is it 7 still? I thought.
Did
Caruso officially jump in?
Wait, did he?
I hadn't. All I'd heard is he's thinking about it.
I believe he has not. At least not until yesterday.
Yeah, I haven't checked since yesterday.
The lieutenant governor have dropped out. Kula, I have this I have this little quiz for Californian voters. Who is our lieutenant governor right now? I would say 90% of Californians, Democrat or Republican, have no idea that Ilani Koulalakis is our current lieutenant governor. And she just dropped out, by the way, and she's not running for governor anymore.
No, she's running for something else.
Treasurer.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, the only thing that she have is that she have a very rich daddy. She's look, all through COVID.
Yes, but there's some problems with the money being transferred directly from daddy.
Exactly. That cannot be done. But I believe even daddy have decided that enough is enough, and she have no chance. So let me run down the 7 major Democrats right now.
Just before you get that,
Sure.
I want to put one thing in perspective.
Yes.
We have not had a statewide office holder in California since Arnold Schwarzenegger.
No, we
So
do not.
20 plus years?
And Arnold is really because he's famous and he's married to a Kennedy. All those things happen. And also we have Greg Davis, which is a horrible governor with power outages everywhere in the state. But even when Arnold Schwarzenegger was governor, there's no other statewide offices that are Republican held.
Nor have there been any since.
Nor have
So
been any very.
I just
You're
want
right,
people to
you're right.
understand the gravity
How
of the
bad it is.
situation,
Right.
but we have a chance to fix it. Let's go ahead.
Right, and I have to say it's getting even worse in the sense that a lot of good patriots are moving to Florida, moving to Nevada, to Idaho, everywhere that we have Republican,
They have
administration.
Well, we have to realize, though,
Right,
they want a better life, but if
Right.
this isn't fixed here,
Right,
this
right.
is like an infection. If the
Right.
infection is not dealt with here, it's like a plague. It's coming for them. All they did was buy time.
because California is a culture capital of the country. You're right. What happened in California does indeed infect the rest of the country eventually. So it will be great if we have a Republican governor that's willing to hold the line right here. Now, that Republican governor will still be facing a Democratic legislature, but at least he can appoint judges, nominate judges. He can have some veto power and line item veto power, and he can appoint, most likely he will be able to appoint heads of Caltrans, Cal Fire, Cal Water. Those are very important agencies that make a lot of rules that eventually have nationwide impact. For example, emission rules, such as those. So that's why this office is very important.
Well, also the Coastal Commission, CARB.
Right.
In other words, the bureaucratic state is where the governor can make a huge difference in who's
Exactly.
in charge.
Exactly.
Because in many cases, the bureaucratic state, we could call it deep state, just California's version, is what is dictating policy and
Right.
affecting your everyday life. The
And by
governor
the
can
way-
fix that.
Right, yeah, exactly. And even a lot of state legislators, they have no idea what's going on within the bureaucracy of the state. We have 300 different agencies that the governor have appointment rights to. So that's a key position that we must fight for and hopefully win.
Yeah.
So now let me get to the 7 major Democrats and why they are probably going to stay in. Now we have one. Let's go with the top person. Katie Porter is a AOC Elizabeth Warren candidate.
Less charisma, but she is beloved by the hard
She's,
left.
I have heard this term called a fat AOC. Now, if I say that, I guess some ladies may not like it, but that's what I have heard, a fat AOC. I think that's one way to put it. Now, I have to tell you, even though she's getting about, according to the polls, about 20%, 25% of the vote, the Democratic Party establishment do not like her. Especially one person, Gavin Newsom, do not like her because she may be endorsing somebody other than Gavin Newsom to run for president. And that's why Gavin Newsom wants anybody but Katie Porter.
Well, Gavin's all about his own power, so that makes sense.
Exactly. And that's why Gavin Newsom won anyone but Katie Porter. That means Katie Porter is probably maxed out at about 20 to 25%. Now, in addition to that, we have Toni Atkins, Toni. She's well, I don't really care, but that's what the Democrats care. She's the first lesbian Speaker of the Senate. That's her claim to fame. I don't know what she have done project-wise, but that's the DEI have. The crowd is that she's the first lesbian speaker of the state senate. Okay, now we have Betty Yee, who is the vice chair of the Democratic Party in California.
But you could fall asleep when she's speaking.
All the time. And by the way, other than Katie Porter, all the other Democrats kind of had the same problem. We have Tony Sermon, who is the superintendent of public instruction. I ran against him 4 years ago.
Yes, thank you for running, George. I was disappointed when you lost.
I am as well. And by the way, his claim to fame is that he hired somebody who is a doctor in Philadelphia as one of the undersecretary of superintendents, even though the guy does not even live in California. He gave him a job because he's his best man. Okay. Now, other than that, with the former mayor of LA, which is Antonio Villaraigosa, and there's a problem in California. Very interesting. Mayor of LA usually don't become governors. For some crazy reason, they might be biggest city in the state, but they usually don't become governors for whatever crazy reason. Now, there is him. We have, I'm actually blanking out. This boring group of people, I'm even blanking out.
Javier Becerra.
Yes, Javier Becerra, who is the former attorney general and a Biden appointee to be the Health and Human Services, I believe.
Yes.
Pretty boring again. Yeah. Again, that's how boring these people are. I prepared this list of names like 5 hours ago, and now I forgot them.
Yeah.
Now, there's one outliner is a billionaire Kluback. If you have seen his ad on YouTube, he's a rabid anti-Trumper. He's spending his own money to run for governor.
So the party's not backing him.
He is basically trying to buy the governorship by being the anti-Trump candidate, which might work. This is California. It does get crazy.
Yes, but Trump's made huge inroads, so it might work, but I don't think it's not going to be like this last election where it was. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be closer. More people are fed up because things have shifted in California.
Especially when we talk about law and order and border security. I believe a lot of voters, even legal immigrants like myself, I come here in 1992, look at this situation and say, yes, we do need to have control of our border. Is not the human part is one of them, but also the drugs, for example, fentanyl and all those coming over the borders.
Well, as long as you have rampant crime, and we do,
yes,
they can claim some of the numbers are down. That's because there's no enforcement, because people have stopped.
One of the good things is that one of the Republican leading candidate right now is a sheriff of Riverside.
Yes, Chad Bianco,
and he would probably dominate on the security issue against the Democrats. And I like that, by the way. So going back to the plan, with the Democrats, 8 of them, whatever it is, splitting about 60% of the vote. And by the way, Republicans tend to vote more often in the primary than in the general elections. So that's one of the things that's in our favor. Now, if the Democrats, again, 6 or 7 of them splitting the votes 60%, there are going to be a top number about 20%. If the Republicans can have 2 candidates, and again, only 2 candidates, then we can have the 1 and 2 spot in the primary, and that will guarantee a Republican will be winning the general election. I don't care which one of them. I will be happy any Republican in the governor's house than any of the 7 Democrats I just mentioned. Yeah.
I think all the Republicans that are running are at least sane, and I see the Democrats purposely choosing issues that people don't want. They can't define man and woman. They're completely wrong on men and women's sports.
Right. I think on every major issue, that's 80-20 or 70-30, the Democrats are picking the 30% side. For example, like I just said, men and women sports and border enforcement, all those issues. I believe we are on the winning side. So all we need is to have turnout in the primary, which we usually do already. Now, The plan is for every county, Republican Party, every county, we have a central committee. And our job makes it easy is to say, your county just need to turn out the votes for one candidate. We are dividing the state north and south based on a map that I look at the I'm a numbers guy. I'm an engineer by training. I love numbers. I look at the numbers. You have Riverside, San Diego, Imperial, Orange, and LA County. They are about half of all Republican votes in the state.
They're half. I would have guessed they were closer to a third, but half.
Half, okay. Because they have a lot of population. LA is 1/4 of the state by population.
Okay.
Now, the northern part of it is bigger, but is less populated. Now, the two top Republicans, again, I'm not going to say which ones. You pick which ones. I believe there need to be a fair process to decide which two there are. Thankfully, we actually do have two top in Steve Hilton and also in Jack Bianco.
Well, even though I like some of the other candidates,
right.
I personally like some of the other candidates quite a lot.
As well. Yes.
But they're not even doing well enough to show up in the polls. That's a problem.
And
like you're not even making a mark.
And collectively, they're going to take about 8% in the primaries.
You think it's 8 combined?
6 to 8 at least.
Okay.
Yes.
I thought it might even be a little higher.
Well, once we get to that, I hope that most voters will do some research and then land on one of the two leading Republican candidates on that. So we need to have a way to kind of talk them out of it. So between the time that we last talked about, a month ago? And
yeah, just about.
Right. And right now, I have been talking with somebody that's close to the Trump team. If there is somebody from the Trump team coming in and say, hey guys, these are the top two candidates, and we're going to work it out so that if you're running for any other office, let's say Mr. Leo Saki or Mr. Daniel Mercury. By the way, I like them. I like both of them. I have met them before. I have listened to them. And they are very articulate and smart people. Now, if they would say, I'm going to run for Congress, and by the way, the congressional maps may change. We don't know. And they would say, look, if you do that, we can help you. We can give you some resources. We can, put you before the right donors and whatnot. And that will be a good opportunity to let some of those candidates to find other ways where they can help out in this race. Now, once we settle on the two candidates, then all the northern counties can say, we are focusing on, say, candidate A. We're going to go knock on Republican doors. Now, there are a list. Every county have a list. The list is from the voter's office. You can take that list and you only target the people that are Republicans that vote in the general election so that we know that they are alive and that they are still voting, but not in the primary. We can find every Republican who voted in the 2024 general election for Trump, but did not vote in the primary. We go to them and say, sir, lady, we need to vote this primary because we need to guarantee a Republican in the general election.
So you're purposely targeting the low propensity voters.
Right. The low-hanging fruit. I don't want to make it so hard for a volunteer that you need to convert a Democrat. I don't want you to knock on a Democratic door and you need to convince them to vote for a Republican candidate. That's hard.
So you've looked at the numbers. There's enough Republicans to get one of them through.
6 million voted for Trump in 2024. Even though many people believe that Trump cannot win in California, 6 million of us, you and I probably voted. Well, we definitely voted. I don't know about you, but I'm sure you did as well.
Eagerly.
But 6 million of us voted for Trump. 4.6 voted for Brian Daly. Some of us reluctantly, some of us, enthusiastically, but we voted. I
was only enthusiastic because it was an anti-Gavin Newsom vote.
I think he's a good guy. Okay, Mr. Brian Daly, not Gavin Newsom. Okay, now, that being said, all we need is those voters. Only 4 million of you, 2/3. Every 2 out of 3 voters who voted for Trump, we need you to vote in the primary. And then we can have 2 Republicans in the general election, locking out all the Democrats. They will have no recourse. No write-ins. There's no write-ins in the general election, by the way.
So 4 million is 10% of the population. Not everybody is eligible to vote. It's probably, there's probably 30% 35 million people that are eligible to vote.
Now I'm being a
approximately.
little bit cautious. If the Democrats split their votes in such a way that are they split their votes even thinner, then we might be even better. We don't need 40%. We might only get away with 36%, for example, to 18%. So if both of our candidates get 18% each, we might still get it.
Well, when we look at polls,
Right.
the two top candidates, I've seen 3 polls
Right.
now. 2 of them favored one candidate, one favored the other,
Yes.
and they essentially switched spots
Right.
in
What's the
those 3
percentage?
polls. Yeah.
About 12 to 15?
Yes.
Yes. So all we need is to get the other candidates to find other things to do, and I'm sure there are ways for them to do them, and split the votes evenly down the line among Republicans to get to 18%. And by the way, those polls are a little bit misleading in the sense that it only measures people that it does not measure who actually will vote. It only measures people that are responding to the polls.
So it's not likely voters.
Not
It's
necessarily.
respondents.
And they might be also talking about likely voters for the general election. That slice a little bit thinner because we are talking about the people that vote in primaries. And that means that all we can, if we can flip the number a little bit more, it have a bigger difference because the primary voters are a smaller subset of it.
Why do you think we need somebody from the Trump administration to come in and talk to these candidates that are just not getting the same numbers, not getting a big enough number to have a chance to win? I think I know, but I want to hear it from you.
Right. Well, the way I have seen a lot of statewide candidates for different offices. Somebody have a great idea they want to run. What we need is to give them a platform. Somebody from the Trump team can say, tell me your best idea. There are good candidates out there that are really running to put a good idea forward. I respect those people. They are not running because I want to be famous. They are running because they want to get something done. Let those ideas get to the right people. So the Donald Trump, Don Jr., for example, or Eric, they come and say, you got some great ideas, Mr. Psaki or Mr. Mercury. Let me find a way. Let me advise you to do something different, but where you can make a difference, right?
I think it comes down to, will their ego allow them to take that opportunity, or will they have to keep going forward?
And that's why it had to be somebody that's with a last name Trump, in the sense that
so they'll take them seriously.
That will give their ego a nice face-saving way to back down and say, hey, you know what? I would have fight to the end, but Don Jr. called me up and he advised me to do something else. And
conservatives would forgive them. Actually, conservatives, a lot of conservatives I know, wouldn't just forgive them.
They would applaud them.
They would applaud them, yes.
Exactly. They would say, look, I'm a team player. Don Jr. call me or Eric call me. And he say, hey, Mr. Psaki, I like that. I like your spunk. You have passion. You have energy. Great. I advise you to do something else. And I can help you on that. I can give you advice on that. Right? That, again, give them a way for their ego. I mean, not anybody specifically. And say, look, I'm not declaring defeat. I'm not accepting defeat. I'm doing something better. I think that's one way of looking at it. To have that a possibility on the table, so to speak. Now, if that happens, that way we can have most of the Republicans. And by the way, there's one problem in California is that it's so easy to get your name on the ballot. It's less than 100 signatures, believe it or not.
For governor level?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, because I had to get 50 to run for my central committee.
I do believe that need to be changed.
Yeah.
If I were,
if you told me 5,000, I'd go, well, okay, but
it's
100 to run for governor?
it's less than 3-digit number. So
Wow.
Here is one of the things I would propose, and that is that in the future, I mean, I don't have the rights, but if we do, I believe you need to have at least maybe 500 signatures, and those signatures must be from at least 10 different counties.
Yeah, that seems fair.
You cannot just be all your family members. I mean,
or you were just
members.
in LA and you walked around for...
Right. You need
if you paid for signatures, you could get it done in a day or two, even at 5,000.
Get 500. I don't want to make it too expensive for regular citizens, but at the same time, less than 100, that's low for a state like ours.
Yeah.
So, and I want them to get it from multiple counties so that they spread out. Okay, going back to the issue at hand, there may be, I got some information that there may be another Democrat that wants to run, and that's Rob Bonta, the current Attorney General, and he would be the Gavin Newsom supported candidate. Now, if that happens, the Katie Porter's lead is going to dwindle. And some of the other Democrats, some may drop out, but people like Villaraigosa and Javier Becerra, they have nowhere to go. They have no position. They already raised money. I mean, it's not like they can drop out and become ambassadors to Austria or something like that. They have nowhere to go. In that case, they would have to stay in, and they will split the votes anyway. So by next March, by the way, the filing deadline is March of next year.
So potentially this whole race could be upended.
Right. By March, yes. Now, by March...
So it's a June election this time?
Yes.
Okay.
Because it's not a presidential year, it's a June election. The filing deadline is, I believe, early the first week of March. And I believe there still will be 5 to 6 major Democrats still on the ballot. Maybe
more, because at
least.
Like Rick Caruso's talking, but I don't know if he will. He would be one of the more sane ones, but I would still always prefer a Republican.
Unfortunately, if it's Caruso, I don't believe he have a chance because the unions are not going to like him. And
it's not just their money. They send people out to knock on doors.
They organize.
Yes.
In the primary election, in the June primary, the biggest force in the Democratic side are the unions, bar none. They are the most organized force out there. Now, other than that, you will be the Green Party, the
environmentalists,
the alphabet, groups, but they don't have the kind of organization the unions have, and the unions have not picked a candidate yet. They are thinking about Tony Sermon because he has been a very loyal union front person in the Department of Education. So I was thinking that they would pick him, but he has been not breaking through at all. So I think the unions are looking for somebody else on that. But that said, there's nothing we can do on which Democrats runs or which Democrat does not run. What we can do on the Republican side is to start organizing around 2 key candidates and get the counties to mobilize to target the voters, the low-hanging fruits, the low propensity voters, but they do vote in the general, right? If they don't vote at all, then they might have been dead. We don't clean our voter rolls. They might have moved, right? Or they might have been so dejected that they don't vote at all. But I'm only talking about the people that vote in the general election, but not in the primaries. They do exist.
Have you looked at the fundraising numbers for the 2 key Republicans?
Not very good for a state this big. And the other benefit of this plan is that they don't have to use their resources to fight each other. So let's say I'm Steve Hilton.
Unless they both make it through, in which case they'd be happy to.
In that case, the media will have to talk to you.
Right.
Even the Mercury News and San Francisco Chronicle, they would have to talk to you by that point, which is great. I don't have a problem with that. But at least in the primaries, these 2 candidates can put their money in the counties where they are, north or south, and they only need to focus on mobilization and turn out the votes. They don't need to fight each other. They don't need to take, cheap shots at the other candidate. They don't need to do any of that. They don't need to spend advertisement attacking each other. I don't want to be getting 3 different flyers from 3 different Republican candidates. I want them to focus their effort on the voters that may or may not vote, but they can be persuaded to vote. That's the key.
So one congressional district to put out a mailer once and there's 52 congressional districts in California. Yes. It was something like $5,000.
Right.
And that's the simplest, cheapest mailer.
And they do multiple ones, yeah.
That does not include the cost of the mailer itself.
No, you're right. Now, and my plan, the one of the simplicity is that it's all about turnout. You just go to a voter and say, we need your vote. Now, when you do that, there are other races that down ballot that can be, benefited, especially when you have a county supervisor election. Because for those, you get 50% in the primary, you won. There's
50 plus 1, but yeah.
50 plus 1, then you run outright. Then you win the race outright.
And they save the money and don't have to go to the
Save the
general.
money. So if I were a county chairman, let's say Fresno, Tuolumne, El Dorado, right? I will work with the people that are running for county supervisors or running for sheriff, running for DA, and say, I want to work for your campaign to do turnout the votes in the primary. Now we piggyback and say, hey, we focus on the Republicans that don't vote in the primary because we want to give you 50% plus 1 in the primary. So it's a win-win on those races as well to help conservative get elected those key races.
I think right now there's great opportunity.
Right.
Because if you put out a get out the vote effort, it's easy to talk about common sense issues. This idea that redistricting is happening from politicians,
right,
even though our state constitution talks about it only should happen from an independent commission. And the Democrats are lying on this one when they say, well, we don't know who wrote it, but we're voting on it.
Remember,
that's easy, low-hanging fruit we can attack.
For example, if we have a Republican governor right now, then this would not have happened.
Right.
Even if they do have 2/3 vote in the state legislature, they just don't have a leader to make it happen like that. And a Republican governor can advocate against it from the bully pulpit. And that's why we need to have a Republican governor if we can make this happen. And like I said, let's say the worst case scenario, Katie Porter gets to 25% and 2 Republicans gets, 19% each. We still are going to have 1 Republican in the general
election. So we still
elections.
at least have a shot.
Right, because if Katie Porter gets 25%, the other Democrats, they're going to split the vote so thin that they're not going to have top 2. They're not likely to have a top 2 spot on that. I
agree that she is the front runner.
For now.
For now.
The unions does not like her because she is a loose cannon. Like I said, well, not me. Fat AOC. I heard it from somewhere. Let's put it that way.
So she's not playing within their system. She's not being...
She understands that the unions would like a quiet and boring candidate that's going to do whatever they want. They don't want somebody that's too much of a loose cannon to them. And to us too. Katie Porter could go into something like rent control statewide and all those kind of things. So and because she had also national ambitions, she's going to pick a fight with any Republican administration coming up. And that's going to make California, in terms of even education funding, transportation funding, if we're fighting the federal government, then we're not going to get a whole lot.
Well, there's where we are right now.
Well, yes. In a way, yes.
Our train to nowhere is no longer funded. Thank you, Mr. Trump.
There's some project that really don't need any more funding, and we do need funding for example, dams, reservoirs. We do need to build those. We actually passed a proposition, Prop 1, a few years ago, when the Democrats promised us that they're going to build dams with that money. How many dams have been built so far?
0.
Actually, no. -2. Because they used the money to take down 2 dams on the Klamath River. It's like -2 right now of the money that we spent.
And we have a bond for Sykes Reservoir. I mean, that one's
locations as well.
We have a location. We have not, because they've done
Sykes
everything.
It's a very good location because all you need is a very small dam and you have a big reservoir behind it. It's a very good location, but there are other locations as well. Now, a Republican governor could focus on those, could be advocating for that, using the bully pulpits on that. And also Republican the governor also sits on the board of UC Board of Regents, the CSU Board of Regents. You think our colleges are becoming too vogue, too left, too expensive? The governor can help with that. And those are things that you can go talk to a soccer mom in suburbia, Menlo Park, where I live, and say, hey, do you want less expensive UCs, for example?
Well, we're likely to have an election between now and June. I'm not sure what's going to happen with that redistricting election.
It's
But
gonna
I
be
see it as a
tough.
great opportunity
Right.
to organize and mobilize.
Right.
Because a lot of people are mad about this. And when I have conversations with people that are not hardcore conservatives, they're kind of somewhere more in the middle. They don't like this.
It's political games. Everybody knows it's political games.
So it's going to cost Fresno County, the county we're sitting in, somewhere around $6 million to run that election.
Yeah.
It's going to cost about $250 million total.
Right.
Right in that range.
And at the end of the day, you're going to have Congress members that are not responsible to you, but to responsible to whoever dropped the map. Right? They are not going to say, "Thank you, Eric. Thank you, George, for voting for me." They're like, "No, thank you, whatever guy in the Washington D.C., the Democratic Congressional, the DCCC." They're going to say, "Thank you for joining this district for me." Yeah. I tell you a little story. A long time ago, there's this guy, Paul Fong. He's a Democratic state assemblyman in my area, Cupertino area, and he voted for a bill that's targeting Chinese restaurant owners. So they come in there and say, "Paul, why are you doing this to us?" And Paul Fong basically says that, the party makes me. Not like, my district wanted this or anything.
So it's not like he's a
Party-
servant of the people. He's a servant of the party.
because the party draws the districts, and he is ultimately responsible to the party leadership. And that's unfortunately California right now, very much like communist China, by the way.
Well, they don't seem to be accountable to the people. That is the biggest problem. When you have one party rule,
Right.
they don't feel accountable to the people. So it doesn't matter what we say for the most
If,
part. There have been a few wins, but for the most
if
part.
you are a member of Congress in a safe district, the incentive, you don't have that sense of urgency to go out and talk to your voters. Let's put it that way.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And the voters that are most vulnerable, the ones that the Democrats talk about all the time, the oppressed. Now, they have an oppression Olympics, so some are more oppressed than others. So I see it as a party with a victim mentality. Nonetheless, the ones that are poor, they're the least likely to vote.
Right.
They're also the least likely to be listened to because they don't have money they can contribute.
No.
So when you have one party rule, they're completely ignored. It's like they're serfs, like in communism.
Right. And for many of the member of Congress from a safe district, their goal is somewhere in the Washington, D.C. or governor's mansion. They don't really need your vote in your district because, I have a safe district. So I like having competitive districts. In Fresno, I think I have two competitive districts. That means you have people that are really hustling for your votes. And that's something that people want. The citizens, by and large, want that. But Sacramento does not want to give it to us. And by the way, there's the state senate leader and the state assembly leader. They both are eyeing a new district. If this pass, they are going to be personally benefited by this map. That's how bad it is. Yes.
That's why they won't answer the question of who wrote the map, who drew up the
Everybody
maps.
know who draw the maps. It's the DCCC, along with Gavin Newsom, of course, and maybe Nancy Pelosi's crew, by the way. So
Yeah, I'm sure her crew. I don't know that she's so sharp anymore. She's really seeming to be long beyond her expiration date.
she tried to pass a seat to her daughter, but her daughter is so bad that she know that she have no chance of winning even in San Francisco. But that's because San Francisco had become so far left that even Christine Pelosi is too moderate for them.
Wow.
Believe it or not. But yeah.
Well, think of as left as Pelosi is. So this is the mom, Nancy.
Right.
Numerous times you can watch videos of the crazy progressive left, the communist left, protesting one of the more liberal members of Congress. And they're not sort of protesting. They're taking over her press conferences and things like that when it's in San Francisco.
Right. One of those things I learned, I love history. You learn from the French Revolution. At the end of the day, by the end of that revolution, it's the revolutionaries killing other revolutionaries for being not revolutionary enough. So the Democrats are eating themselves. And in fact, when Trump won, I tell my Democratic friends, I am postponing your killing each other for 4 years. You should thankful that Trump is president because you guys are about to be killing each other sooner rather than later. So unfortunately, that's true, and that's why the Democratic donor class, they don't like Katie Porter, because Katie Porter is either going to run for president herself or is going to endorse somebody like an AOC or Warren for president, and that's not what they want to see. And that's why Katie Porter, although she's leading right now, I believe the Democratic Party insiders are trying to find somebody else to run against her. Yeah.
Well, if you've got somebody that's trying to upend the apple cart and the establishment simply wants to take care of the established power, they don't want any waves because they've already got theirs.
Exactly. They are called Uniparty in Sacramento and DC before Trump, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the Democrats, they pretend that the establishment Democrats, they pretend to care about the victims on your list, right? But they're only using their votes. And they never actually want to do anything, but they use that to fundraise and mobilize. But once somebody actually want to do those things, they're going to sit back and say, sure.
Well, that's why $24 billion has disappeared on homeless with no accountability and no improvement, because they want the situation to continue.
Right. And by the way, look at what's going on in New York, right? The socialist Mandani. Now the Democrats in New York are shitting their pants, let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
People like Chris Cuomo like, whoa, but Chris Cuomo, Mr. Cuomo, Governor Cuomo, you feed this beast.
Andrew Cuomo,
Andrew Cuomo, you're right. Chris
is the CNN, former CNN
Andrew
lying
Cuomo,
guy.
You feed that, and by the way, Chris Cuomo also feed that animal. You feed that animal, and now that animal is going to eat you. That's what those revolutionaries eventually get, is that the animal that you feed is going to kill you. But anyway, let's go back. I believe the Republican Party, if we unite behind this issue, we can have a Republican governor guarantee by June of next year. That is one thing that we can work towards.
I will add that to my prayers, George.
We can we pray and then we work.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how would you mobilize, aside from getting candidates to agree to this?
Mm-hmm.
How would you mobilize that get out the vote?
So
GOTV is
right.
Committees is up. There's
Central
58 of them.
Right, central committees, and also, by the way, some central committees are better than others. I mean, some...
I'm on one that I'm not impressed with.
Well, I am not going to comment on specific central committees, but every one of them need to go to their county register of voters and get a list of voting records. And from that list, you are going to take out the people, again, very simple, take out the people that voted in the general election in 2024, voted for Trump, right? But did not vote in 2024 primary or 2022 primary. You target those people. You have a list, and you work with the grassroots organizations like CRA, the Republican Women Organization, Young Republicans. You go to them and say, "Hey, I need volunteers." Now, the pitch is very easy. We need you to vote in the primary to lock out the Democrats. You're going to say, "Hey, but my cousin is running for governor too." Say, forget about your cousin. Vote for this guy, Steve Hilton maybe in the northern states, Bianco in the southern counties, and say, look, vote for him because we want both of them to get to 18 to 20%. And when they do, the Democrats will have no candidate in the general election. And that's the best scenario we have to win this election, to guarantee the governorship. Can I count on your votes for that? That's the pitch to every Republican-leaning voter. You don't need to convince them that they have problems, right?
No.
Just say, look, we need to have a course correction in California. That's what we need. We need to apply course correction in California. We need to fix the state. We need to be fiscally responsible and all that. But again, we are talking to people that voted for Trump. We are not talking to people that voted for Kamala Harris in 2024. We probably cannot change those minds, but we can at least mobilize the people who voted for Trump to come out to vote again.
So you don't want to try to get beyond the TDS. You just write those people off. Trump derangement syndrome.
Well, they're going to be crossovers. They're going to be people that are so pissed off Democrats, they're going to vote for any Republican they find on the ballot.
Yes, but we don't need to
And
convince
that's fine.
those ones either.
No. Well, if they happens, great, congratulations. Thank you very much for coming to our side. But that's not our focus. Our focus is to turn out the people that voted for Trump in 2024.
I would also say that if you're out there and you get the
Right.
opportunity to go out and talk to people, and,
Yes.
and frankly, even before they get out the vote, you should be talking to your friends, your neighbors, your family, your church.
Yeah.
You might also talk about, you don't have to convince them that California is bad, but talk about some of the things that a Republican governor could do
Right.
to help fix the state. Real simple things.
Right.
Like all those people in LA, they can't rebuild because of the Coastal Commission, even though Pacific Palisades is not
How sad.
directly on the ocean.
Right. Right. And those are Democratic voters.
Mm-hmm.
I would say at least, maybe a quarter of them are now, more and more likely to vote for Republican. And also, like I said earlier, we can take out some of the vote administrators and UCs and keep the cost down. A provost of diversity gets paid $200,000 in each one of the UC campuses.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And they don't just collect money and do nothing. They actually go out and spend more money to do things that we probably don't want to see happen.
Well,
So-
George, we're almost done.
Right.
Any final thought?
Pray about it. And I also tell all the churches out there, before the election, pray for the election. So June election is next year. So in May, find a Sunday and pray for the voters to have wisdom and have passion and still have hope for our state.
I would also encourage churches, you can talk about biblical values,
Yes.
and you can get people to register to vote.
Right. Simple to-dos. Like I said, every pastor next May, find a day and say, let's pray for the election, upcoming election, and let's wish all the voters and candidates wisdom and humility.
Well, George, on that note, I thank you
Amen.
very much for this time, and I hope your plan works. I don't always see the reasonableness I would like in the Republican Party, but I do believe it is the party of common sense here in California, and we need to do what we can to bring common sense back to
They are not
California.
perfect, but they are crazy.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Eric.
This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist. I thank you for this time.
Thank you.